Hi, I'm Elizabeth Waters, and I'm here with Brian Connor. He is a friend of a friend. And Brian, we met under normal circumstances. You were looking for a coach, and we waited a couple of weeks, and I got a panicked call from a friend, Brian Patrick. And um, what I want to talk to about today is self-murder. And and what does that look like when you want to murder yourself and when you're in such a state that um you reached out? I mean, what's that feel like? Tell me kind of the circumstances that were around that, why you reached out to Brian, and that kind of thing.
Um, I just feel really trapped in my life. I've been married 3 years, and it's been really, really hard to deal with everything that we've been going through. I was diagnosed almost immediately as soon as she got here. She's from Kenya, another country and completely different culture. And once she got here, I was just dealing with so much emotion and just not having the support that I once did. And for a while, working on, I was moving like uh, very consistently, being a traveling therapist. And I just kind of lost my way and lost myself. And trying to teach her the ways of our culture and different things. And I really, really lost myself and put all of myself into the relationship. And over the course of 3 years, I became very angry, violent at times, and just very far away from who I know myself to be and who I've been. And it's been 3 years. We've tried different um, counselors, we've tried a different coach, and things really made me more confused or whatever. I didn't know if it was expectations in the relationship and just having, but like, for instance, there's a lot of stuff going on with my wife physically, and she
Brian,
had a, yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt, but I want you to take three really long, deep breaths right now. Just slow, nice and slow. There you go. In through the nose. Feel it in your nasal cavities. You can close your eyes, that's fine. Feel the air going out of your mouth, crossing over your lips. One more deep breath. Thank you. So you were at a point where you had tried therapy, other coaches, that kind of thing. That's what you were talking about. And so then what happened?
I just felt hopeless. I heard that something was telling me the one day that the way through this is because my wife is very supportive of me, and she thinks that there's something just wrong with my brain, and in a way that causes her to be compassionate for me and stay, um, because if it wasn't something wrong with my brain, she would have left me a long time ago. But at the same time, it also creates me to think very poorly, very lowly of myself. So we're kind of needing to work through that, because I put everything into this relationship emotionally. And the longer that I'm in the relationship with her telling me these things, whenever I act frustrated or whatever, causes me to lash out and shout or whatever. And we haven't been physically intimate for quite some time, and it's over 8, 9 months. Um, and it's going on 9 months. So just
Brian, what specifically drove you to that particular day where your go-to words,
I
you
was
had a, yeah,
I was considering suicide because I love this woman so much that and the amount of medications and things that I've been on and everything, and she's leaving me now. I just don't. I'm really at a loss and needing to find myself and find who I can be for this woman, and who I can be for myself again, and really just very confused in my life. So I
got
felt
it.
just committing suicide was an option because I wasn't getting good advice and things in my life from other people and my family members, my friends, like just putting a lot more pressure on me to operate in my life. And yeah.
So Brian, tell me, we spent 1 week, I asked for you to give me 4 days before, and after those 4 days, you called me on a Monday and I gave you, in Friday, you thought your wife was moving out that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, if you give me 4 days, do you remember that conversation? And I said, you can do whatever you want after those 4 days. I said, but let me create a shift for you in 4 days. I said, no transformation, but I did promise a shift. And did that happen for you?
Yes, it did. I got to be playful, and it was actually, I was, when I first was talking with you, I was crying, couldn't get out of bed a lot. And when the movers came to take the wife that my wife is going to be using and the couches and everything, like they were really confused because we seemed so madly in love and happy and playful. I was operating very, very differently and had a very good time in the um, final moments with my wife. And if you weren't coaching me in that time, what was probably predictable is I would become even more emotional, be shouting at my wife more because my emotions would be haywire all over the place a bit because of the situation, even though she was committing to me and not like leaving me for good. She's just going to school and there's a lot of stuff going on. So it probably saved our marriage in that week, because I would have been really, really awful and just absolutely depressed. And having somebody like yourself that I was able to communicate and share, and you were able to get me grounded in myself. And, the week didn't go perfectly, but when she moved out, we were smiling. We were um, connected better than we've been in a long time.
I appreciate you sharing, Brian. Thank you. Um, so you mentioned being grounded, and part of my method is to have you do homework, which was core values. And I have people prioritize their core values. And so what I created for you, Brian, was a real foundation, something that you could work from. And when you're in that space and listening to other people and not in alignment with who you are, you develop an anxiety that turns into the depression and the anger. And I clearly heard that in what you were saying. So would you say that that's accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was, it was not in alignment with my values and who I really want to be in this world. And I think like when you go through a life change like getting married or something, your values really take a significant, like they alter significantly because you're, and especially because she was living in Kenya and then came in, it wasn't this direct like gradual shift of values and things. It was an overnight shift, about, okay, now there's two of us, I need to, it was a lot. So I needed to really take a good solid look at what do I value and as an individual, and how does that work within the combination of being in a relationship of marriage. And I felt like you really did that very well.
Thank you. Thank you. When you start a marriage, I think it's important that we all define our 10 core values. And she has a list and you have a list. And then that's where you guys come together and you create a list to build the relationship. And when you guys get back together, and during this process of healing that you're in right now, because she just moved out, and this is your first weekend alone, correct?
Correct.
So what we're going to do is I'm talking to Maria later, actually today, and when she creates her core values and you have your 10 core values, you put them together, you find out what aligns, and you have a relationship core value list. You don't lose yourself because you just keep building on who you are, because relationships that are healthy are designed to bring about elevation and expansion and love and light and all that beautiful stuff that humans live for, is that feeling. And so that's what I want for you and Maria. And so that's how we do it. We design our core values, we build on that, and we create a mission statement for the relationship. So each person stays an individual and they come together to build the relationship together based on what they value. And so that is ultimately your next assignment and where we are right now. So Brian, just describe what it was like um, in the process after that Friday, that the deadline we made, the 4 days. Like, what was it like to be coached by me um, during that time when you're like recovering, like after you decided that it's not necessarily a good go-to sentence. So
Yeah.
of I want to kill myself. Remember we had that conversation?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Um, it was very, very healing. And, but like, to be honest, it happened so subtly that I didn't feel like I was even doing that much work. Like I was hungry to make a shift for a long time, but a shift really hasn't occurred. But I was just, one day I'm just being playful with my wife and having fun again. Like when you talk about, people in that work on themselves or whatever, it always sounds like it's hard work, but honestly, working with you, it was, I didn't even realize I was doing anything. It was just the space of that you create that allowed me to share, because we keep these emotions and things judging ourselves and because we're not in alignment with our emotions or whatever, they causes a great deal of stress and causes us to lash out more and be even more out of integrity. But when somebody is allowed or able creates a space for you to just be and gives you a little bit of assignments or things to really consider, it was very enlightening, and I did not think it could be that simple of a to create a shift.
Wow. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I didn't know you felt that way. And why don't you share with us, like, we know that you did your 10 core values, and then share with us what I did with those 10 core values that got you out of that statement of going to, I want to kill myself.
And instead of going to my go-to of I want to kill myself, which if I'm honest, it might have just been wanting attention, but like I had no idea what I was going to do with my life, and I felt like I had no power to do anything. And the more that I thought about it, the more that the thoughts became reality that I might act out on. So um, she Elizabeth gave coached me to find 10 core values that I um, really, you know, hold strong, and that's how I want to be living my life. And with those 10 core values, um, selected the top handful of them, and mine was connection. I really value connection, and playfulness and vulnerability. I'm open with people, as you can see, even on this call. I like to share. And because I'm hungry to have a better life. I believe that you're always one conversation or something away. I believe that, but I was able to. I discovered to create a mission statement that Elizabeth told me, to say that I am connection through playfulness and vulnerability. And whenever I was feeling um, suicidal or feeling frustrated or confused or any of the, you know, kind of, I don't like to say negative emotion, but emotions that may bring us down or cause us to feel lower vibration will, if I said I am connection through playfulness and vulnerability, and sometimes I feel depressed and sometimes I feel suicidal, it really gave me um, an ability to feel grounded even when my world is shaking and I'm in a confused situation or in a situation where I don't feel empowered at all. I would still know who I am and would know what my values are, and being able to say that out loud to myself, um, or in my head, made a significant shift, and not just at, in my relationship with my wife, where I was able to be playful even though she's moving out, which, somebody who's emotional, that would really be very difficult. But also being playful at work and owning the playfulness and stuff, as I'm a physical therapist, and everybody needs a distraction every once in a while when you're feeling pain and you're doing physical therapy, as I work in physical therapy. So I'd be singing to my patients or whatever, and it actually brings up their mood and makes them just laugh and have a good time instead of, so, and before I would be thinking about my marriage and being depressed and stuff, even at work. So it has opened up space in my life to connect to those around me and be playful and fun and be my true authentic self. And I really appreciate the coaching.
That's great, Brian. I'm very happy for you. And today I know is an especially difficult day. And sometimes we feel loneliness. It's just it's part of being fully human. We learn how to express ourselves during this time. And like you like to draw and write and rock climb, and there are things that you like to do.
Mm.
And it's a matter of planning ahead next time when you get a weekend like this, so that you're clear that you have something to do and not just like go out of your mind and get all emotional because you're like, how'd I get here? Like it's just hard. So, but we can talk about that later. But I really, really appreciate your time and expressing yourself, being open to sharing what you've been through. Um, right before we got on this call, I heard about somebody who slit his wrist and almost died. And yeah, and he was seconds away from bleeding out, and somebody had called 911. So I was really in the mindset of having this call after I heard that. And hopefully, Brian, with you sharing, somebody can reach out, talk to me, call 988, which is the national hotline, suicide hotline, call 911 and get the help that you need. I think it's really important. Um, we're each light and energy, and like you said, vibrations are important. And when we are in that space, it's really hard to get out of it sometimes because we just get in our head. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I could be there for you, and I appreciate you reaching out. It was a brave thing to do. So thank you.
Thank you.